My name is Alina. I'm 41. And if someone asked me who I am, I probably wouldn't have an answer right away. 15 years ago, I made a choice that changed everything. I chose stability. A family. A home. A son. I chose a path that demanded strength, always. There was no room for mistakes. No time to breathe. Because if not me, then who? I remember standing by his crib at night, listening to him breathe. Back then, that felt like the meaning of everything. And then, things blurred. Life became noise, motion, tasks, and inside me, there was silence. I began to disappear, dissolving into others' needs. Wants? I had none left. Time for myself? A joke. Even my smiles were for others. I became a function, a mother, a manager, a problem solver, a guide. Everything but one thing, a living woman. People respected me. They listened. Some even feared me. Iron Lady, they called me behind my back. But no one called me simply a woman. The strangest thing? I didn't even notice when I stopped being myself. The house was full of people, yet every night I fell asleep feeling the void. And he grew up beside me. My son. A boy with eyes as dark as mine. Always wise beyond his years, reading between the lines, sensing more than he spoke. We were alike. Deeply. Sometimes painfully so. I often felt he understood me, even without words. But one day, I noticed how he looked at me. That wasn't a child's gaze. That was the look of someone older. Too old. Since then, something restless awoke inside me. As if a forgotten part of me was stirring from a long sleep. I didn't know what it meant yet. But I knew one thing, the world I had built was beginning to crack. And there was no way back. I'll take a short pause. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Have you ever experienced something like this in your own life? And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Now, I continue. It happened on the most ordinary day. I remember, I was standing in front of the mirror, getting ready for work. Hair in a bun, dark suit, everything neat and strict, as always. He walked into the room, just to ask where his headphones were. But for a second, he stopped. He looked. And didn't look away. Not like a son. Not like a man. But like a human being who could see straight through me. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen. Not as a role. Not as a task. But me, tired, imperfect, and so achingly alive it scared me. It wasn't flirtation. It wasn't intention. It was a challenge. A simple gaze that pulled something ancient from deep inside me, something I had tried to forget. He said nothing. Just that silent, I know. Then he walked away. That was the beginning of the game. A mental one. Subtle, tense. It felt like he was silently daring me, let's see how long you keep hiding. Sometimes, he was cold, distant, almost invisible. Other times, strangely attentive. Asking me questions, about my childhood, my dreams, about who I was before I became mother. And I started answering. At first, briefly. Then more. Every time I shared something real, he seemed to gather pieces of me together. As if he already knew, I wasn't whole anymore, but maybe he could help me find what was missing. I couldn't decide if he was provoking me, or saving me. But I started to change. For the first time in years, I left the house without a business suit. A red coat. Bold lipstick. A stranger in the mirror, and that stranger was me. It felt ridiculous. Frightening. Beautiful. I began to laugh again. Not politely. But truly. Inside me, something was waking up, not the mother, not the leader, not the strong woman. But simply. Me. I was still afraid. Still uncertain. But for the first time in years, I felt alive. I spent a long time trying to figure out when it all began. And where it would end. But the truth was much closer, not outside. But within. He wasn't who I thought he was. He didn't break my walls. I allowed them to fall. His gaze? His silence? They weren't messages, they were mirrors. He was simply there when my subconscious decided to scream. To shatter the script. To escape the cage. He became a symbol. He was me, in my youth. Strong. Unyielding. Cautious. Intense. His eyes were the eyes of the girl I used to be. And that was the deepest pain. But everything changed when he appeared, real, tangible, not a projection. We met by accident, in the hallway at work. He was holding a folder and dropped his pen. I picked it up, automatically, without looking. Then, our eyes met. It wasn't fate. It wasn't a movie. It was quiet. Just someone who looked at me, and didn't look away. But in a different way. No pressure. No reflections. No game. For the first time, I felt seen as a woman. Not perfect. Not strong. Not broken. Just alive. We didn't talk much. He showed up in a few meetings. Sent short emails. But every time I read his words, it felt like someone was quietly holding my hand as I walked through the dark. And right around then, my sun fell apart. Pressure. A mistake. Humiliation. He came home different. Crushed. And for the first time, small. Not wise. Not in control. Just a boy who was lost. I didn't ask questions. I just sat beside him. Held him. Stayed silent. I saw him, not as a mirror, not as a symbol, not as a challenge. But as my son. And for the first time in years, I wasn't a woman trying to find herself, but a mother who found him. That's when everything made sense. I was strong, not because I had to be, but because now I knew where my softness lived, and who had earned the right to see it. I no longer feared my feelings. Because I had stopped hiding from myself. The world didn't change. But I did. And that was enough. Share your thoughts about this story in the comments. Have you ever experienced something similar? It truly means a lot to me to read your words. You are more than just viewers. I value each and every one of you. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, so you won't miss the upcoming, even more powerful stories. And, just write in the comments, I hear myself through the silence, that way, I'll know you stayed with me until the very end. Wishing you a beautiful day. See you soon.